Not even like a regular brewery, and it was like a malt liquor plus Mountain Dew or Mountain Dew partner, like a really nice brewery. Malt liquor, I was just like, oh my god, just turns.
That's totally not marketing.
Absolutely not.
All right, we are
Yes.
live.
Everybody.
Hello, Angie.
So Grace is unavailable, and I will be filling in, leading the meeting today.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Ecologies, landscapes, and cultures all pass through the land fleetingly. The land endures. All right, then. Do we have any additions to the agenda?
I just would like to point out that per late request from Melissa, I just added just before the meeting, under the facility update, I added a request to adjust the bid per Rocky to account for door price.
Okay.
That is the only addition I have.
Anyone else? I'm going to say we're going to move on then. I'm going to motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry.
Thank you. Apparently I haven't paid that much attention now. This is actually done. Okay, let's talk about approving the minutes from June 9th.
I feel like as I was getting these minutes ready, I noticed like one little typo in terms of there's like conflicting dates on the approval of our meeting notes. I think I have like April 28th and then April 7th. And so that's my only minor adjustment to the notes that were sent out.
Would anyone like to approve the minutes from June 9th?
On a motion, we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
I don't know. Okay. I think we're gonna go ahead and approve those.
Huh?
Let's see. Public comment time. Is there any one member of the public that would like to make a comment?
Check.
No, the whole crowd out there, no one has anything to say. Okay, I guess we're just gonna go ahead and move on. Reports, financial report.
That's me. Hi, friends. I'm going to pass around our statement of activity for the month of May. We're still in June, so I haven't really been able to do June as of yet. That was the previous month. And Angie, I'll apologize. I forgot to send this out to you. I will send it in a second.
No problem.
I'll try to talk while I send an email. So this shows that over the course of the month, we took in approximately $81,000, and we spent approximately $49,000. It was a good month for income from the district. It was kind of a catch-up in a way. Let me just add this statement. So normally we've been getting about $40,000 a month from them, and this time it seemed like it was sort of that reconciliation of because the process throughout the year is a little wonky. Like you don't get it, like if you have a certain number of students per month, they don't immediately give you that rate. There's kind of a lag. Essentially there's a makeup. So it's like, maybe you have 60 students, but they kind of pay you for 50. And the next month, maybe you have 64 and they pay you for 52 or so. So there's kind of, it's not a actuals, it's sort of an estimate. And so this payment, this $80,000 was essentially getting to the end and being like, okay, now let's reconcile and get more of the actual. And essentially it indicates that over the year, we were getting students kind of quickly that weren't included in estimates.
Yeah.
This is the payment that includes all of that. Any questions about where things, as you can see, as always, license salaries is usually our biggest expense. Take a moment and see if you have any questions while I track this down from my computer and send it to Angie. And in fact, Angie, I'm sending you all the things I have for today.
Thank you.
Also, I'll point out at the top of this, you can see our account balances with First Community. In savings, we have 216,000. In checking, a little more than 14, for a total of 230,534. I will note that that is going to go down a bit. June, we are going to get our June is the month that we don't get a payment. That 80,000 was for May. But we have this facilities renovation project, and so that is going to take a chunk out of that amount there. So just know that. And any questions on our account balances or the statement of activity?
I don't have any. I think we're good.
Anyone?
Grants update, the Haynes and Friends.
The Haynes and Friends update, we are partnering with the Art Guild. They are Caitlin Dean has volunteered to go ahead and write it up for us as a partnership. What they'll do if they are rewarded for it, which they've already been rewarded the grant before in the past, so they're very familiar with the process and the language needed to get the grant approved. So the plan is that upon approval, they will just buy the supplies. We sent them a supply list of things that we go through quickly. Caitlin asked me about my potential painting class supplies, and we're also looking to teach a printmaking class in the springtime. And so what they'll do is they'll use our mission and our language as well, and then purchase the supplies and do all the grant writing and then give us the supplies. Does that make sense?
I'm just curious though as to why you didn't go for the grant on KCA basis, because there's a lot of merit to KCA that would.
Sure, it's also a lot of work to
It is a lot
write
of
the
work.
grant.
It is, yeah.
So anytime we can delegate someone else who's willing to take that work on to write a grant on our behalf, we'll probably take advantage of that privilege.
So will the grant be on the merits of KCA and not so much the guild?
Yeah, they
I'm happy to speak to that. So we were looking at partnering with the guild on one grant that would really support KCA, and then we were looking at writing a grant on behalf of KCA. One thing we were worried about that competition. Are we, is it likely that we're both going to get a grant that supports KCA? So that was one reason that we decided to join forces. Another thing is this is, looking at collaboration as saying that community is one of our values and reaching out and working with. And so we want to support that and have a partnership with them. But it really is supporting us, because what it's going to allow you, I think you heard us talk about the idea of an art vending machine.
Yeah.
And so the guild is working with a guild artist who has access to a vending machine, who would come in and teach printmaking and also working with that vending machine, doing some branding stuff, some other things. It's an exciting project. Like, imagine you walk into Taylor's and there's a vending machine that has KCA art in it. And it's maybe sponsored by the Southern Oregon Guild, and it's sponsored by the Grantor, but in many ways it's a KCA project. It's a student's work. The students are going to create the work. The students are going to be out filling, the vending slots when they sell. The students are going to be understanding the whole process and working with the people who need to repair. And so really learning more about this whole thing. And essentially the idea of the grant is working with the guild, as partnership. Another idea is like creating for the vending machine could have a lot of small art, like mini art. And so we could do a display. We've talked to the guild about a show at the guild where it's like, hey, come to our local student art guild, see the work that has been created by our students that will go into these vending machines around town. And so it's something, an event at their place, but also it's really, I think, it's an exciting thing for our students. And so we didn't want to compete with that. And I agree with Taryn that teacher leaders are a little overwhelmed, and so fewer grants that we should be working on now. One is better than kind of working through two at the moment. So yeah.
I see, okay. So you, the grant proposal has the outline of the project in it, is that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that is an excellent update. What about our audit?
So back to me. Hi, friends. Just an update on our audit last year. We kind of didn't really get started until September, October for our audit. This year, the auditors reached out to me a few months ago and wanted to do what they're calling an interim audit. And to me, it seems almost like the first half in a way, like kind of getting it out of the way, getting some of the work done. And so I have been working through that for the last couple of weeks, working with the auditors. They send in they're like, hey, send us this, and I create some report. So that's in process. I like that if going forward, if that's the way that we do it, is if we can do as much as possible in June, around the time after school has ended. Because last year, you all know I took time off in October. And it seems like looking at the list of things they're maybe going to be asking for maybe in August or September, it seems a bit smaller. Like maybe this year's audit is 2/3 the size of last year's, and maybe we just went through half of it. And so if that's the case, then going forward, the audit process will not be so onerous and demanding as it was last year. So just wanted to share that.
That sounds good. Bookkeeper support.
Bookkeeper support. I, as a teacher, but then also as the finance person, as the human resources person, I've been feeling a little overwhelmed, and I was talking to a local person who is setting up a bookkeeping business in Cape Junction. His name is Don Morley, and he's creating Black Oak Bookkeeping, and kind of talking to him about maybe helping take some of the work off of my plate, and he is interested. At the moment, we're talking with him about 5 to 10 hours a month. He could help us with receipt reconciliation and reports and some other things. So I just wanted to share that's my plan, is to work with him, and that hopefully take 5 to 10 hours off of my plate each month. Especially some of the things, like some of the receipt reconciliation is really time consuming, and kind of requires a certain headspace. And so when I am often pulled in different directions and can't really get back into it, it kind of makes it difficult.
Seems like that's probably a good thing, just as far as audits and in general, kind of the health of the organization, to have like that outside perspective that's only focused on numbers and has nothing to do with education. Seems like that could hurt us really.
And what we heard from the auditor last year is putting too much on one person with little oversight is frowned upon. And so if it is that there's an extra person who's got eyes on things, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think that will go over well, and it seems like we have enough money that we can probably end up doing that. Hopefully it'll be at a reasonable rate.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion or thoughts about it from anyone? It doesn't sound like it. Community and culture. Enrollment update.
I think so. Enrollment's still full, right?
Yeah.
What other update would we have?
Well, waiting lists, who wants to?
Pull up the roster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the roster.
It's real complicated with our
I'm okay.
structures and numbers.
On the roster.
Okay. So we have no spaces left. We have,
What size are our classes?
our class sizes are ninth grade. We have 11 ninth graders enrolled next year. We have 16 10th graders next year. Looks like 19 juniors and 18 seniors.
Wow.
And the waiting list,
And it's below each grade.
okay, there is one student on the waiting list for sophomore, 4 for the junior class, and 2 on the senior class.
And none for freshmen.
None for freshmen at this moment.
That's a bummer.
But we were able to let pretty much all the
Can you say
freshmen.
that again?
Sure. There are, which part?
The wait list.
We have 1 sophomore, 4 juniors, and 2 seniors on the wait list.
What's our count for the expected number of 5th year seniors graduated this semester? She gave us specific color code than that.
So purple here,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, and we have 4 5th-year seniors. And they'll be done after the first
After the first semester,
semester.
those 4.
3 of them.
Three of them.
So is that included in the 18 seniors?
Yes.
Okay. So
And-
so that 18 will be dropping down.
Mhm, 18, 17,
And
18.
most likely it'll be the freshmen, you know, we'll fill that with 3 freshmen, most likely.
We have, it seems like we're having somewhat of a repetition of the pattern of
Yeah.
incoming freshmen wanting to try Ivy High because that's what all their friends are doing.
Yeah.
You know, Mortimer takes some Ivy High stuff for classes and they wanna go with the flow. So we thought we wouldn't deal with that again, but it looks like we have a little bit of wiggle around, so.
Might work out beautifully.
Okay.
Great. How about community connections?
So beside, we just had Whirlwind, right? And that went.
Friday night, we had Rowan Theater Festival. Yeah, started Thursday night at 6, ended Friday night at 6 for the performance. It was really good. It was the first time we've had a community whirlwind since 2019. So it was the 11th Illinois Valley Whirlwind. We had a fresh crop of people who had never done it before, and 2 of our students and a 3rd teenager who'd like to come here now. And so we had the teenagers on one end, and then we had a crew of older elders of the community in their 60s, 70s, 80s, who had so a trio of those. So we had this nice intergenerational balance, and yeah, it was excellent.
Nice.
And then tomorrow morning, I actually found, and it'll probably come out of my pocket at least for now, but there's someone selling this like set of music things that they're rainbow and they're called boom whackers, and each color is coordinated to a like musical note, and they're usually super duper expensive. So he's a teacher in Ashland, and then another woman just called, her name's Donna, who wants to donate like a bunch of boxes of art supplies and printmaking supplies serendipitously, because her husband just died. And so she has boxes of stuff that she wants me to pick up tomorrow on donation.
And what kind of supplies are these?
Art and printmaking supplies, like drawing and painting and sprayers and.
Nice.
Yeah, talk about that later. Also.
Oh, yeah.
We now have access to a private theater on Joyce Abrams' land on Tequila Road. If you are familiar with this theater, it was built decades back and was a performing arts space, was a movie house attached to a home with seating for 58, or you counted, how many seats did you count? Right?
It's 48 seats, but if you add, some folding chairs, you can easily have 58.
She says they're seating for too.
Mm.
Yeah, and I mean, it has a sound system, lighting system, track lighting, stage lights, very, very impressive. And Joyce wants the community at large to start to use the space. And so what we're gonna do is have KCA be the entry point for community artists to become familiar with the space, while our students are becoming familiar with the community artists, performing artists, for our fall intensive. On one of the intensives, I will do a theater intensive, and I will take 15 students out to the space each day for all 4 days, and looking to find roughly 10 local performing artists to each do small workshops in dancing, singing, juggling, acting. So the artists, the students can kind of get like a sampler, like a sampling of the performing arts. They get to connect with the artists, we get to connect with the artists get to connect with the stage and with the space. So I think that would be a really good entry point. And then in theater class next year, I haven't figured this out too far in advance, but we're hoping to do 1 performance. So a unit where the theater goes out, class goes to her space, every class to do lead to performance. And then from there, we had to help facilitate a wider use of the space by community organizations. So I think it's a gift that we have, and very grateful for Joyce's very wanting to open this up to the community, and that she trusts us to start it off. And it needs a name. She said she needs help naming it.
Theater.
So, yeah, so we'll see if our
I
kids
think,
can help.
I think she wants something more creative than just the
Yeah.
theater.
Yeah, oh, I know there was a question mark
Oh,
at the end of that
oh,
sentence, sorry. I didn't, the theater?
The
The theater?
Okay.
I mean, to see any big
No.
community.
Oh, formation of
Formation.
parent families organization.
So glad you remembered that.
Yeah, well, it's on the thing.
Okay, oh, good.
I got you.
Thank you. Yes, we have the beginnings of a PTA. They are not sure yet whether they will be a PTA, Parent Teacher Association, PTO, Parent Teacher Organization, Site Council, or a parent cooperative. So they're figuring that out amongst themselves. It's a small group of parents. 4 parents were able to attend the first meeting. They've already planned their second meeting, and we are now. I'm working with one of the parents, Michelle Townsend, the parent of a senior, incoming senior. Sorry, not an incoming student, but a student who's now senior. She's leading it up. So she and I are working together to establish what do they do, what do they need. For example, there's a summer food program in the Valley for any child under the age of 18 who needs access to extra food. They do a box program twice a week at Illinois Valley High. You can go and pick up the box of food. However, you have to get yourself there. And some of our families do not have transportation. So we have just been on our own time going to the pickup and then delivering it to the kids to their homes. And so I'm now we're finally having those conversations, about the PTA taking over roles like that, of just helping to support our students. So yeah, it's exciting. It's brand new, and so we'll see where it goes. And we also don't know what their role will be as far as in relation to the board. If they'll come to the board and never do presentations. It's all fluid and up there. And so as a board, I've asked you all to start considering how would you like to interact with this organization? What kind of connections would you like to make with our parents?
Is it important that the board knows that it's a Title I thing?
It's not a Title I
Oh,
thing.
I thought it was a Title I thing.
Title I compliance, there was a missing Title I compliance piece that I had to pull together at the last minute.
Oh, okay.
And it's a piece that's usually done by a school's PTA or site council.
Oh, okay.
And so rather than me run around just doing it myself, I thought maybe this might be the impetus. This might be, the origin story of the KCA PTA, so I can delegate it. And so it's its own thing, just Title I inspired. Was the push to make it happen.
Sweet. So we generally have Alyssa on locations and facilities.
But I do have a proposal that she had me, here, actually, we passed that at one time. I don't know why I gave you the single one. She had me, print out to pass out here. So the safety doors, there's a price increase that is coming with the safety doors that we didn't anticipate. Rocky, I mean, I guess that it's not even just Rocky, like all of us didn't realize how much those doors actually cost. But they're very expensive. And so we need this approval to get the safety door that is needed for the expansion.
You need approval for doing what you have to do then.
Yeah, yeah.
For
It
safety of children.
just happens to be over the price, or else we would have just done it without bothering you.
Yes, I move that we get safety doors and protect the children from fire.
I second that motion.
Okay.
All right.
Can you, in your motion, include the amount?
Oh, yeah,
I would
yeah.
like to motion that we approve $5,500 for safety doors to protect the children from the fire.
Potential fire.
Potential fire, yeah. Hypothetical
The
fire.
concept of fire.
The concept.
We're not planning a fire.
And then so everybody, then somebody's supposed to say.
So I made the,
I second.
all right,
All in favor?
I
Great.
said everybody.
Ahoy. And then what else? And then if you blank after we're done, you should take a walk, in my opinion, to go and look at the work that's been done so far.
Okay, door price.
Because it's really cool. The door price. And then what help do the teachers need post-expansion preschool opening for the facilities?
Yeah, Gracie requested that.
Yeah.
Ask you guys
That's a really great question, and definitely moving furniture that, you know, there's like lots of stuff, the entire office is out in the hallways. We'll have the establishment of like several brand new classrooms, so we should probably try and plan a work party before school starts to move furniture. Maybe even if there's like furniture that people need to bring to the school, but they don't have like a truck or something, where we can do a work day.
So we're probably like mid-August.
Yeah, mid-August.
Instead of, so we don't want to push it too late.
Exactly.
when do we expect renovation to be done?
I
We
don't
don't
have
have
that answer,
expectations.
yeah.
Okay. So our next meeting, I believe, is August 4th.
Okay.
And so maybe at the next meeting, we can nail down what,
Perfect,
a day is.
Yes,
sounds great.
so that should go on the agenda.
Am I supposed to be texting Kava to remind her to come as a staff rep, or?
I feel like last year, our student reps never came in the summer.
Okay,
And so I didn't have high expectations of them doing that. So
maybe we add that they're.
If they want to show up, show up. If
Okay,
they don't,
that's
that's
Did
fine.
they know about it?
Excellent.
I don't know, I should look, because I don't think that actually when I think about one of the reply alls, I don't think that the board does include our student reps. So I think that they were getting their meeting reminders probably from Melissa at community class or from you guys.
Okay, we will get better about that.
So,
Yeah, and women's out of town.
Yeah.
Okay, so student report and on to staff report.
Just a second, to be present. Staff report, we are, posting a food service position. It is, as we get things structured more officially, moving forward with the life of the school, posting positions is the fair and legal thing to do. And the understanding was that it was a year contract last year. And so we are posting the food service position to do interviews towards the middle of August as well. And we've already gotten 5, I think Melissa said,
whoa.
5 applications.
Whoa.
So that's looking really promising. And then the rest of the staff is gonna do their best to not be in the building for the whole next month.
Great.
And that's important to update.
I've been updating the website.
Yeah.
All the places to say, beginning this year, KCA is closed during July.
Yeah.
So we're not quite ready with that. Yeah. but-
Yeah, and I mean, if you think you see one of us at the building, no, you don't.
That's an imaginary part.
Yes. That's all that I think though, as far as like staff report goes. I don't really have anything
We're
else.
wrapping up the fiscal year.
Yeah, wrapping up the
Is,
fiscal year. Oh,
Is Caleb wanting to reapply for that job, or
He said he didn't want to.
Yes, he did not express it.
how much does it pay, what are the hours?
$20.54 for 24 to 32 hours.
Nice, that's a pretty reasonable job.
And if someone can work those 4 full days, that would qualify for health benefits as well.
For how many hours?
Oh, that's pretty cool.
32, up to 32 hours. We have a little flexibility, 24 to 32. This past year, we had a local vendor provide a meal 1 day a week. And, you know, if we find, if we want that to continue, or if the person we find isn't able to commit to 32 full hours, that gives us a little flexibility to, you know, have someone deliver meal 1 day. But if they can do the 4 full days, then we'll provide health benefits. If we need
Who's
that.
delivering?
It was Taylor's.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I was like, who has that big of a kitchen?
Yeah, they were
It's like,
bringing us burgers or deli sandwiches.
1 day a week.
Awesome, cool.
Yeah.
All right, new business, teacher leader contracts for the next year.
So, I am gonna pass out a different one to each of you to look at.
Oh, boy.
One for you,
Interesting.
one for you,
Yeah.
one for you. These are pretty much all the same, except the pay is slightly different for a few of our teacher leaders because it's based on years of service. But this is essentially the same contract as the one we had last year. I did update it to include a specific start and end date. Last year it just said the school year. And this one I've clarified that it is from August 1st through June 30th. I've also included in there because each of the teacher leaders have signed I don't remember what the exact word is, but essentially they've signed something saying that they agree to be paid for an 11-month position over 12 months. So we have that on file, so I've included in the contract that, you know, this is your rate, this is how much you'll be paid for each of 12 months for this 11-month position that runs from August 1 through June 30th. And so the goal today, my hope is that you all think it looks fine and that therefore we can have them signed. Not a big rush to have it done today, it's just that August 1st is the start. So I'd like it done, it'd be ideal to have it done before August 1st.
Well, I am happy with what I see. I'm willing to approve this.
I'm sorry, I was saying, can you say,
I'm requesting a motion to approve this so that we can have them signed before August 1st, but it didn't have to be signed today. And the one change that I noted was last year it just said for the school year. And this does have a specific start date of August 1st
Okay.
and a specific end date of June 30th. And a clarification that because all the teacher leaders have signed an agreement to this effect, that for that 11-month job, they will be paid in 12 equal monthly installments.
Has everyone looked at these and feel good?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I motion to approve the teacher leader contracts for the next school year.
My second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Budget revisions and changes for the
Oh,
next
that's me.
5/26.
So, we did approve our budget in April. This has a few changes. I have highlighted in sort of the ugly brownish yellow color where there are changes. We tried out sort of a campus or hallway monitor for a little bit. The person in that position wasn't able to continue, and so this allows, budget includes 4 hours a day for every school day for next year. And so essentially a half-time position to add that. This also includes changes to our payroll taxes there on the first page, like for example, health insurance. It is the case that 2 of our 5 teacher leaders are going to start receiving our health program in July. This does still allow, though, the budget includes healthcare for others starting in October. And so if they are on OHP and lose that or choose to use our program, they can do that. So the budget does provide for teacher leaders to have the health benefit if they need. Let's see, on the second page, audit services. We've heard that our interim audit has started and they did send an agreement. And that, I mentioned at a previous meeting that has gone up from maybe 12,000 or so last year to 15,000-ish. So this includes the additional for that. This also includes a change to health insurance under the school administration area. That's just because rates are going up. So that's not a big change right there. Under fiscal services, you can see the other non-instruction professional services. That would be for the additional bookkeeping. And that is a budget of 7 hours a month for a total of $2,870 for that. You know, if we can have 7 hours a month, it's under $3,000 for the year to support the bookkeeping. And then way on page 3, the other change is a change to the food service. The previous budget included a certain number of hours for one position and then a few hours for sort of a support. And that was due to a request from a person in that position who wanted, you know, some additional support, and essentially lowering their hours, but then giving them to someone else. But since we're posting the position, we are seeking one person to do all that. Instead of, you know, one person 6 hours a day and someone else 2 or 3 hours a day. This is this budget is for 8 hours a day, so 32 hours a week. So this budget includes the health insurance. And so at that rate, you know, it may be that someone applies and says, "Oh no, I can only do 24 hours." And maybe we don't have to cover the health insurance. So it would be cheaper for us to pay tailors to make us, you know, some food one day a week than to have to pay the health insurance. I still would rather have someone who can be dedicated, can come in, can do all the work, can fully be there, than to have, you know, a meal kind of made and brought in. And so that is an area, you know, essentially this is the most we would pay for the food service, assuming no issues. But so, you know, it may be that the health benefits or the hours for that may go down. And let's see, on the last page, the big addition is that our previous budget did not include our renovation. And so that is, I'm going to need to add the additional $5,500 that you just approved. You can see this budget is, for the year, is not balanced. If you look at the line where it says reserve and it says negative 18,000, what that means is that we would be taking in 18,000 less than we actually spend. Don't be so afraid of that just yet, because, as you know, we have drawn down from our CSP budget. We got that grant. We received grant funding that we had not spent, and so a lot. Essentially, do you know offhand how much?
Top of my head.
But it's definitely more than 18,000 that we have already received for a grant and have not spent. And so, you know, once that's taken into account, you know, the spending here doesn't look as bad. And also the if you look at cash flow, the fact you know, how much we have in the bank as of today, is that 230, 535, and so if we do spend 18,000 more this year, then we take in, you can see at the end, June 26th, that means we would finish the year with over $200,000. So, and so this is basically revisions to the budget that was passed in April, and I am requesting a motion to accept that.
Motion to approve the budget as adjusted.
I second the motion to approve the budget.
Are there any questions for me?
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Would anyone like to vote? Aye. All right, then. It looks like we're good there. Student representative terms.
So I didn't add this to.
I had mentioned it as something to consider, so I'm welcome to speak to it. Or I'm happy to speak to it. What I had noted was that at the moment, one of our student reps is no longer a student. And so I just thought it might be worth considering. Maybe it's worth waiting for the students themselves to be present, and maybe really encourage them to be here August 4th. But a question for the board might be, if a student graduates, and then we have a meeting in July and August and September, are they still a KCA representative? Because at the moment, we don't have a policy that says, okay, you graduated, now you're no longer a student, so you can't be a student representative. Therefore, let's find the next person, and maybe there's usually a backup or a second. So just something, I don't have an answer myself. I just think it's worth considering.
And that could segue even into the handbook, because if we decide that we do want to limit the rep terms with graduation, then that would be something to mention in the handbook anyway.
It seems quite reasonable that it would end at graduation to me. It doesn't seem very reasonable that someone would not be a student and be a student representative. So.
I mean, at the same time though, it's not like the end of their graduation, like necessarily ends the end of their interest and care for the school. You know what I mean? I don't know, but then you also run the risk of what if they graduate and go running off to Europe for the summer, or they get an apartment in Medford with their friends, or.
Right.
To stick around to go to these meetings in the summer that graduated, and if they did, I would be highly suspicious of their motivation. So I think cutting it off at graduation is quite reasonable. But,
In that same vein, we could just encourage students who are about to graduate to perhaps run to be a board member. Like if they want to continue to be a part of the board and have a say and have a vote, they could then join the board.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, that's all we should include.
It's a great idea.
Everyone at graduation encouraged to join the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't quite see the need to cut them off. It would seem like if they really wanted to be here, it seems like, would we really need them to be here? If they came or didn't come, would it matter that much? It would just be open to them.
I think that's a pretty reasonable perspective too, Carrie.
Yeah.
And so is it a policy that we want to dictate, or like Brian suggested, do we want to try and encourage our student reps to come so that they have a say in moving forward, because they can't be reps again, correct? So it's
If they graduated, they can't be, or if they left, but if a student can
but
run
if
again,
Papa wanted to be again.
she can run again.
I do believe the limit is 2 years in a row. She would have to run again and be voted in again, but she is allowed. Students who are still enrolled are still allowed to do a second year. And then if we didn't want to change anything and you don't see any need to put a time limit on it at graduation, you could just leave everything as it is, whereas the election happens in the fall when school starts.
Is there a copy of our bylaws?
I guess I'm sort of leading towards letting sleeping dogs lie. Because you know what? It's true. If women wanted to come to a meeting, I would be fine with that. Right now.
I think for me, it's a question more of if someone has moved on, are the students being represented? Like,
Right.
like if we just say, oh yeah, you don't have to show up, they don't. And now we've got maybe one student who shows up, or if
Right.
it's a year where both graduate and the summer has no students being a part of this the conversations we're having here.
Right.
Is it likely that any student is gonna show up for the summer meetings?
Do they know about the meetings? I don't know.
And then one idea also could be maybe having, if there's an upperclassman and a lowerclassman, like on purpose, instead of just. Yeah, but really, I guess it's whatever the students decide they want to represent them. Yeah, it's a great question.
I think this would be a great decision for the students.
Yeah.
That would be like a really good lesson.
That sounds
And do you think that that's the question, then I guess my next question about the questions is, is that a conversation that we need to have with our current student reps, or is that a discussion for all of the KCA students to decide as they go into the next election?
I think we learned this past year that we would like to do more education for the students as to what this is prior to the election, what is a board, all of this is new, and so as part of that process, I think to introduce the question of this is what it currently says, this is what we have been doing, and to open that up. Because it's fairly vague in our bylaws for students, which is great, meaning that the student body could change their mind every couple of years if the board was agreeable to that it wouldn't take a revision of the bylaws. And so their desire to participate in the board could shift with the times, but I think that that would be very, we tell the students we want them to be empowered, and then the reality is there are so many things that they cannot control when they're here. And so any opportunity to give them real power, I think would be meaningful for walking the talk.
I think it's a great opportunity to let the students make a decision.
Cool.
So we're gonna hand this one off to the kids. All right. Student handbook rough draft review of the summer.
So I have shared it electronically with you all because I went to print them out and they're 92 pages. So, if you still want me to print you one out, I will totally do that.
So.
But you have access to it in the cloud and you can leave comments on the one in the cloud. So if you read it and you do or don't like something, or you want to add a little note, feedback, questions, comments, concerns, it could be a living process over the summer so that you don't feel pressured to read this giant packet of paper over the summer and come in August. You can just look at it as the mood strikes you, and then we can approve it in August. It was a lot of work. But I really don't want to print everybody out when I need to. There's 4 of you, that's almost 400 pieces of paper. Let's
Save the money.
yeah, and the trees. So yes, but I did share it with you. You have the ability to comment. You can't physically edit it yourself, but if you leave a comment, we can explain why something is or isn't the way that it is in the handbook. Because a lot of the handbook language is according to the law, like Oregon education law, Oregon attendance law, that whole thing. And so it's much more complicated than, I don't like the way that sounds, let's delete it. So just keep that in mind as you
It'd be nice to know which parts are like that and which parts are not.
go. Yeah.
So yeah.
So
Seems
yeah.
like it's a very opaque process going.
Yeah, it's not
Not really liking that.
opaque. What do you mean?
Like how are things done? It's opaque, it's not clear.
Oh, I'll explain. So what I started with was
Like if there are parts that are just boilerplate that are not, then that'd be good to know which ones are those and which ones are being made here.
I came in and worked with Taryn and Melissa some on the policy, and we kind of went through, I think that I could probably pretty easily actually kind of highlight some sections maybe, because there were some things that we couldn't change, right? Like we can't change state attendance policies, we can't change state academic things. And so in those sections, changes were still made, not to the policy itself, but to the language, so that the language fits our school's language. And so I'm not sure that you'll find anything in there that hasn't been touched by us.
Yeah.
But the
So
basis
any
of it,
policies in here have already been approved that are different, have been approved by the board and that kind of thing. Or this is
So-
not policies or.
It's not new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
This is the report of what's already happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
because the basis of it is the Three Rivers School District Handbook, which is what our default has been anytime we didn't have a policy. And so we've taken our default policy and added the things that are distinct to us, and then changed their language to be distinct to us. So it's our default policy with additions where we've already approved policies. And
Or if it had punitive, cause a lot of the outlines in the handbook is if you do this, then this happens. So like in instances of like gang violence, right, like you're not gonna see a lot of change there because that's a law. You can't be like, it's fine to do gang violence, like obviously not. So, but then there's situations like tardies, for instance. Tardies were like detention, suspension, etc. And we don't do punitive measures like that, and we believe, based off of the science available, that like the student is better off in school. So if we can give them like a focus room because they won't get to class on time, where they can try and catch up on the things that they're missing because they don't get to class on time, and have a whole like conversation to explain how that's important. That's outlined. I mean, you'll pretty much be able to tell, because it'll either feel punitive, and then like we were saying, like this is what I started out with, is the TRSD overarching high school handbook. And so we, like Mindy's saying, anything that was punitive that isn't like legally required of an educational facility to do, we shifted to restorative justice language, and mentioned that if that doesn't work out, then we might shift to more punitive measures like traditional board policies of the Three Rivers School District, as we have previously agreed to in board meetings. So
Yeah. So much of it is just how we the academic section where it lists our graduation requirements.
Yeah.
Things that we're already doing that it's obvious, oh yeah, this is KCA's, or how we don't just do report cards, we also include narratives. And explaining to families in advance, like what is that? What is that gonna look like? Talking about, your person, what does it mean to have a person? And so a lot of it is more of an explanation for them. The policies, are where, so that it's not a policy manual, it's a handbook. So a lot of the handbook is based on policies, but it is more of an explanation for how the school runs. And there's nothing there, we're not making changes to the current operations in the handbook. It's simply a communication tool for what we're doing.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that is available, and you're gonna send out an email with like a link to that.
Yeah, I shared it before the meeting started. Yeah, you should already have access to it.
Okay, revisions, fiscal policies and procedures manual.
That's me, and I had included it, what I wanted to change in the email. So let me see if I can find that specific language. Almost have it, give me a second. Okay, so here's currently, so we have approved a fiscal policies and procedures manual that's been approved, following our fiscal policies. And here's two changes I would like to make. First is, it says under credit and debit. Currently it says KCA will limit the number of holders of KCA debit or credit cards to no more than 2 teacher leaders. And that's what we've done with our, we currently have 2 debit cards. But we are in the process of moving, based on some of the audit and some of our discussion last year, to having credit cards.
Yeah.
And we would like each teacher leader to have their own credit card that we don't have to share. Like I should be able to make my purchases and then have my number, and that I made it, and I'm the one. And same with our office manager. So I would like to change to say the following. KCA will limit the number of holder of KCA debit cards to no more than 2 teacher leaders. KCA will limit the number of holders of KCA credit cards to each teacher leader, the office manager, and 2 additional cards that may be checked out by other staff for approved uses. And in addition to that, I am setting up a more robust system for checking out, where it's like, if let's say one of our community teachers wants to run out and get something, they would be able to, from Kayla or one of the teacher leaders, have access to the folder where they're kept. But they will need to put their name, the date they're signing it out, the time they're signing out, where they plan to spend, what the vendor is, what their expected amount that they plan to spend it on. And then there's a space for when it comes back, as well as a checkbox that says, return with receipt. Did you return the receipt? And so more, chasing down receipts this past year has been painful. So, so this is the request of, now that we're transitioning to credit cards, our fiscal policy should include a little bit more information about that. So that is one request. Second, regarding purchasing, currently it has this language: expenditures over $500 but under $2,000 must be approved. Items under $500 do not need express authorization. Teacher leaders are authorized to make purchases under $500. And that's some of that's kind of spread out through a paragraph. It's a little confusing because then there's also, so in 2 places essentially in our fiscal policy, one place it says we don't need authorization from the board. It's essentially the full board at $2,000 is kind of what we have. But there's one place where it says, where we have a policy, it's regarding, one of them's regarding like credit or debit cards, and one of them's regarding purchases. And they have different policies, even though we're making purchases with the credit card. And so one of the policies says under between 500 and 1,000, I think we need a treasurer or a board chair to also. And so our process has been, we've been, when we're asking for permission for approval for a purchase, we'll say, oh, Terry or Grace, can you check in on this because it's $501. But then there's another policy that says that limit is 1,000. And so my request is to just make them both 1,000. So this would be the new language to make the policy consistent with the credit card policy on page. It's on page 7 of the manual, which I think has been shared with all of you if you want to see this specifically. But the new would change to, quote, expenditures over 1,000 must be approved by the board chair or board treasurer. And so that's the request, is to make those consistent. Instead of 500 in one place, 1,000 in another, just make them both 1,000. And then also the language I shared about credit cards to allow, instead of just saying 2 debit cards, to say each teacher leader plus the office manager and 2 additional credit cards that could be checked out with a robust process. And I am requesting a motion to that effect.
Brian, can I ask you a question real quick? Why not the food service manager? Why wouldn't they have their own card if they're making so many purchases?
Let's do it.
Can we add that?
Yeah, I would like to clarify the language to say 5 teacher leaders, 1 office manager, 1 food service manager, and 2 additional cards to be checked out.
All right. That's an excellent point. Because I buy a lot of food.
Yeah, and having to check it in and out.
Probably gonna use the credit card more than anyone else.
I have a motion to approve those changes to our fiscal policy.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
All right, vote.
Aye.
Right.
And Mindy, I will forward this note with the one added change, so you can have the exact language.
Okay.
Potential closed session? Are we having a potential closed
I
session?
don't believe we ever got a response.
Okay, I never did, right? All right. So I guess we're about ready to adjourn this meeting.
Can I?
Oh, we got something more.
Well, it's just realizing by the time we get back, the orientation will be like right around the corner. It'd be really cool if y'all wanted to be a part of the orientation. So can we just just put that, be thinking of ways that you want to participate, so when we come back in August. And maybe the August meeting.
What orientation?
And when is our orientation?
It's the Thursday the 21st. It'll always be the Thursday evening before the first day of school. It's at 6 o'clock. And it's for all families, new, returning, everybody.
Okay.
And as we're always encouraging parents to join the board, I think, for the board to speak to what is that and how, the importance of parents getting involved.
Maybe our president of the board will make a little presentation.
Wow.
As the interim president for this meeting. All right. But she's a very welcoming and gentle person. And I encourage some people to step up. So I think that would be a good idea. Is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about here? State of affairs.
Next meeting's Monday, August 4th.
Okay.
At 4:30.
4:30.
Cool.
Well, that sounds great. I'd say that we should adjourn and maybe we should take a look at the
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Bye, Angie.
Bye.
Guys, thank you.
Oh, we can FaceTime her.
Yeah, I was about to say, someone bring her on live stream.